Here we go.
G'day fans and welcome to another exciting lockdown episode. I've got to rip it off the card now. A few moments ago, literally less than a minute ago, Aaron wasn't even ready yet for the show. He was dicking around with his hat. He was putting his shirt on, and I was so tempted to go live right there and then so you could see him like do his thing as he was getting himself prepared for the episode. And I thought that'd just be just the funniest thing. Oh, you know, I'm still looking at his ass and he's sitting there, he's trying to get his shirt on, he's trying to fix his hat. Look at that. He's done the Indiana Jones, mate.
I did think you were just gonna push live. I find like when we're at the shop and doing it, I just get ready. When I'm at home, I'm like, oh, I can just sit down in five minutes and go, but it doesn't work like that, does it?
No, exactly right. Very good. So hello, everybody. How are we all? We're still in lockdown. Our bloody curfew's kicking in an hour's time and all the rest. But hey, the coolest thing is the Paralympics are on TV at the moment. And so far, even today, it's already been goal for Australia, which is very, very cool. I just got a message from Twitch. Twitch has just cracked the biggest shits ever. And apparently we're not on there at the moment. Something's happened, so I'm going to have to sort that out. So if you are watching on Twitch, and no one usually is, except for Cheese Noodle, we're not going to be there. So there you go. Anyway, Mr. Aaron, how you going, old son?
Well, it's a bit of a disappointing week because OnlyFans has gone down. Like all our nude content is gone, so we're not going to be making any money apart from off of this feed. And I guess if Twitch is gone, it's only going to be YouTube, isn't it?
That's yeah, exactly right. You know, the thousands of throbbing nerds who join us every single solitary week. But yeah, so the store is obviously, I know we're going through this routine every week, but still, it's always nice to know what's happening. So the store is still closed. How you guys coping, man?
The store is going from strength to strength. Yeah, we're still closed and doing click and collect and online deliveries and things like that. So anyone who wants to order anything, we're really grateful because it just keeps us going at the moment.
Very, very cool. I like this from Dave. Hi, all you legends. He's obviously not referring to you or I. He must be referring to everybody else who's watching the shows. Bloody hell. Now, here's a funny one for you. So even though the store's been shut for what seems like an absolute eternity, we actually do have an extra writer who's actually joined us this week. Believe it or not, there is actually a dude in the store, and clearly it's not Aaron because he's sitting in his bedroom at the moment. But this dude has joined us. So explain why have we got Mr. Frank somebody as a writer? What's the deal with that?
Well, we have problem in the shop with the shop droid Curly, who usually doesn't do anything that we tell him. So we employed a second droid to look after him, Larry, which is the droid from Forbidden Planet, and Curly just managed to totally override his authority. So we went for a third time and we ordered an IG unit. We're getting an IG assassin droid in, and we ordered one, and Frankenstein turned up. So somewhere in the I think it was Planet Express delivery routine, they delivered the IG unit to somewhere else, and we've got Frankenstein in the shop now. Now, Frankenstein was made by a friend, Spankin, who's been on the show before. He's in the shop. He was a commission for a customer, but if you could come into the shop, you could see him. He's a very impressive piece. Did you get to see him, Dags?
Yeah, I did when I was at Spanker's house. Now, those purists out there will argue that it's actually not Frankenstein, but Frankenstein's monster, because Frankenstein was the dude who actually created him. But, you know, not splitting hairs or anything. And with that in mind, where are we? Something about hats and stuff. So, yeah, exactly right. So we haven't got matching hats, but, hey, the shirts are still very, very cool. So there you go. Yes, you're right. And no, if Colin was joining us, he'd be saying Frankenstein neck bolts usually hang out for people in Frankston. So, but we're not picking on Frankston people today. So very, very, very cool. But
he's our rioter at the week, and he's rioting at the shop as we speak.
Yes, exactly. Exactly right. Looking very, very bored and unhappy because of the fact that the store is currently closed. So there you go. Very, very cool. All right. So I suppose we should get right into it. I've actually had messages from people this week saying they're absolutely hanging out for this episode, mate, because tonight we're talking about pop vinyls, and they are like chomping at the bit. So the more I just sort of just Google on, the longer it's going to be before we get to that point. So very, very, very cool. Anything you want to say before we start moving to something exciting, old son?
I think that was hyperbole, wasn't it? There weren't really people asking about Pop? Surely
Yes,
not.
actually, I don't know where he is. I don't think he's joined me at the show. I've just gone blank. A dude from Sydney, Gavin, I think it is, said, "Oh, mate, I can't wait." He actually, I mean, I'm paraphrasing. Make of that what you will. Hey, hanging out, mate. I'm chomping at the bit. I can't wait. That's paraphrasing. In real life, he said,
I rearranged my shelf, and I even put the few Pops that I have in my collection, and I don't like them very much. But there you go. I still have some, so they've got some merit. We'll talk about them later, though.
Yeah, indeed we will. All right, let's get into it. So let's see if everything's working tonight. So, yes, it's the exciting part of the show. Boom, there we go. All right, so the latest and the greatest, even though the world's in a complete shit at the moment, stuff is still coming out, believe it or not. So they're saying, oh, if you've lost your job because of COVID and all the rest of it, don't worry, we can still find things for you to spend your money on. So what are we kicking off tonight with, old son?
You can always feel that hollow place in your heart with collectibles, can't you? But we're kicking off today. Do you know, whenever Star Wars brings out a comic and it has Crimson in the title, I'm on board. Crimson Empire with the original Imperial Guards and all of the comics that spawned. But this is a new one that's been announced, Crimson Reign, and that's Kira from the Solo movies. And this is going to follow some of her adventures between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi.
I love the fact you said Solo movies. It's like, hang on, is there more than one of them? Is there? It's just the one. Very quickly, I agree. This is a comment from Rico. Give Frankenstein the How's Your Father? Bring in the 13th Doctor prop. That's what you're in there. And then you'd see Aaron having the droopy looking expression there. But yeah, good old Kira has made an appearance in Crimson Reign. So there you go. Never rains but it pours. Boom tish. What do you reckon? So yes, very, very cool. Yes, that's very exciting. Also, that's a comic, is it?
It is a comic. So we don't plug comics a lot, but I thought that one was a little bit special. So we would have a look at that, and when it comes out, that's one I'll definitely pick up. That's
a comment from Dave. Looks like a bit like an early Madonna. Yeah. So straight out of I wouldn't say it was the holiday sort of like a Virgin song or whatever. Like that. Yeah, very, very cool.
I know. Imperial Girl.
Oh, yes, she's just an Imperial girl. Oh, I like it. Oh, very, very cool. Well done. All right, moving right along. We're sticking with the Star Wars theme. It is this.
Now, this is one of the coolest things I've seen for a long time. I mean, the Mandalorian was big, and there's been a big merchandise push on it. But I think this is very cool for inclusivity. It's a wheelchair cover. So if you have someone who is disabled or a kid wants to get involved in cosplay and they go along to some of the conventions, which we don't go to at the moment because of lockdown, this is something that can slip over a wheelchair. And I thought the coolest thing ever, you've got Grogu floating on the wheel beside the Mandalorian ship.
This is so aptly timed at the moment because the Paralympic Games are currently on and there's plenty of people in wheelchairs over there. So you can imagine, like in the opening ceremony last night, that the Parade of Nations, that a nation rolls in, boom tish, with this thing on. How cool would that be? So, that'd be very, very groovy. But
I don't think I've seen anything like that before for Star Wars. So that's a very interesting piece to see.
Yeah, or you can do the other version where the Razor's crest got blown up and you're just in a normal wheelchair. So there you go. Well, very, very cool. Look at that. Even Colin's even interested. Yep, good on you, Colin. Yeah, put this one on, old son, and away go. Just make sure you got your Beskar spear and your ball, because you got to have your knob. Because as we know, Grogu is a bit of a knob kid. So there you go. Very, very cool. Now, if you're saying to me, "Oh, mate, I'm so over the Star Wars thing," it's like, can you give us something else? Well, the answer is no, because we've got more effing Star Wars.
Well, we had a look at Hot Toys a couple of weeks ago, and this is one of the nicer ones that's come up for a while. I mean, a lot of Hot Toys come out, and anyone that collects them, I guess they see them, but we don't put a lot of them up. But this is the Scout Trooper on Endor, or the Moon of Endor, with a speeder bike, which is a really lovely piece. Now, they did do a Hasbro one of this probably about 20 years ago now for the 12-inch range, so they have done a 12-inch speeder bike before, and it was one of the better Hasbro ones. And up until then, it was one of the nicest speeder bikes, but this tops it, I think, and the articulation on the figure is particularly nice. Comes with a sort of weapons. You can get the Scout Trooper singly, or you can get it with the speeder bike. I mean, look at that pose. Like, haven't you always wanted to pose your Scout Trooper like that?
I got a classic lot. This is classic from Thomas. That looks pretty cool, Aaron. It's like Thomas. Aaron didn't make this. He's just like promoting it and selling it. And it sounds like something you've created yourself. So yes, I do agree with you. It's very funny you should mention that, because remember when the original model kit came out of the speeder bike way back in the 80s? And it was and you had the Scout on the bike and all the rest of it. I had a mate of mine who was a model maker. And he used to muck around and he used to modify all of his model kits. And he said the guy looked, as in the Scout, looked so boring, just like sitting there looking straight ahead. So he actually got him and cut him all up and rearranged his position, made him walking, carrying a bag and all the rest of it. Just gave it some life and articulation and looked absolutely fantastic. And yeah, so in this example, yeah, you're right, that looks pretty schmicker. You'd think that was a photograph, actually, if you didn't know any better. A photograph of the real person.
They've done a particularly good job on this, I think, with the backgrounds where they've dropped it into sort of a forest environment. So, and the stand it even comes on has a little forest detail on it as well, which I think, you know, Hot Toys do go that extra mile when they do stuff like that. So very impressive piece. If you're looking for sort of an investment piece or just a cool piece because you love Return of the Jedi and want to blow up some Ewoks, that's a good piece to grab.
Totally agree with you. Yes, William, it is fully articulated. You can interpret that any way you want. The Vial has mentioned, I think he did say this at a girl at Supernova last year, would have been the year before. Oh, yeah, because Supernova, they had it just before the lockdown. Was Ray in a Millennium Falcon covering wheelchair thing. So, yeah, which is very, very cool. But, yeah, this is very, very groovy, I've got to say. And, yeah, no, well done. I mean, once again, if you're producing quality pieces, then you can say, yes, the investment would be worth it.
And with Hot Toys, with what you were saying about modeling, my skills aren't so good. So you get a model and it'd have a professionally built picture on the front, and then you open it up and you do it yourself, and it looks like, you know, when Homer tries to make the barbecue, just a disaster kind of thing.
You realise what you just said. You're not very good at modelling. Now, in my personal opinion, I reckon I could stick you on a catwalk, right? You could have your latest, like what you're wearing now, that you only put on 1 minute before we went to air, and you got your busted hat and all the rest of it, and go up there. What do you reckon, Fat? Now, everybody who's watching this right now, what do you reckon? You reckon? Imagine Aaron on a catwalk. He's doing the nerdy twirl.
We're still going with the Madonna theme, and I've got to do Vogue.
Hey, I'd buy that for $1. It's like, there we go, a fashion show. Just with Aaron by himself. So he just wears whatever he's wearing, goes out the back, changes, comes back out, changes. How good is
I was
that?
only joking about the OnlyFans stuff as well, but there you go.
There you go. I like it, Thomas. Too sexy for sci-fi. Never too sexy for sci-fi. Christy's going for it. So there you go. Absolutely love it. I reckon that is the ultimate of cool things. So very, very good stuff. All right. So we've done all the Star Wars thing. We've Star Wars ourselves here from here to Christmas. Now's the time to do something completely different and to violate something. So what are we violating tonight?
Lord Vile is with us again. He's been one of the more popular subjects from the feedback I've been getting. So this time, Lord Vile is going to violate something very close to Dags's heart.
Literally very close to my heart. I reckon as soon as I saw this photo, I go, I recognise that room. That used to be... So for those out there who don't know, I'm sorry, you go first.
Go ahead. Sorry, I was going to say this week, Lord Vile is looking at Batman merchandise, and when I was looking for a nice background picture for this slide, I Googled large Batman collection, and whose collection should come up? Dags's. Yeah,
it's kind of ridiculous, isn't it? I find that amusing because like I stopped Batman collecting back in 1997, so that's like 25 years ago. Right now, sure, I've got my website and all the pictures are on there and all the rest of it. But the thing is that, I mean, mine should be like long since surpassed by tens of thousands of other people by now. But yeah, it still pops up, which is absolutely bizarre.
I see Joe saying, give me those Batman scissors, but we've got something better, I think, this week.
Indeed. And John has said, when are we going to see a new look? I'm going to actually mention that in the next after this segment. So sit tight, John. Don't run away just yet. But yeah, this used to be my collection room. Now, if you're anybody out there who looks at this picture and go, oh, I'd love to come to my house and have a look and check it out. Well, one, you can't because there's no visitors allowed. But two, it doesn't exist anymore. So the whole thing's been boxed up. But that used to be my my collection room for the past 18 years. But anyway, it's not about me. We're going to violate some Batman stuff. So what are we violating? Hey, check that out.
Well, look at this. We've got a few, as I guess as the 60s show would say, look at this, chums. We've got a Batman toothbrush holder here. And, you know, sometimes they nail it we saw with the speeder bike, how the articulation and the position and everything is fantastic. But this one somehow, if you had him sitting in your bathroom, it looks a bit suspicious. I've had to take a picture of the back of it and show the back of it as well to see that Batman's hand is a bit higher up on Robin than it looks from the front. So anyone who needs a bit of excitement in the mornings when they wake up or in the evenings just before they go to bed, you could go a lot worse than getting a Batman and Robin toothbrush kit. And next to them on the side there, we've got two Mego figures. Now, these are official figures, and I think they came in an age where sort of they were a lot more innocent as to what would get through. That would get through today, because the position that they are sitting in and the position of their hands.
Sorry, I'm sorry. I have to mute myself while I just hang on.
Yes, so Batman and Robin. Yeah. Okay, let's go to the next one. I think Dax has lost it. Now, here, if you loved the Wonder Woman scissors, wait until you see the Batman water pistol.
Now, I'm going to be the first to say, oh my God, there's just so many inappropriate comments, but people are just, why have you been talking? All this stuff's been coming up. It did occur to me that you could easily go to this one over here and just, like, just to make sure, because Batman's a bloke and, Robin's a bit of a sidekick, just just Photoshop the hand to be a little bit wider and, make him feel a bit more proud. So there you go. What's in oh my goodness. Next. So you want next, Mr. Thomas? Well, in that case, then we'll go to this.
Now, this one says it all, doesn't it, really? This is it's a fluid ejector. It's a Batman fluid ejector, which I guess we call like the water pistol. And I think it's a very unfortunate design, like up there with the Wonder Woman scissors. I think at the end of the year, we'll have to get all the best ones back and see which one thinks is the best vile item. But as you can see, what's crazy about this, the trigger is in a very inappropriate place. But see where the bat plug is, where you put the water in at the back? That is in a very inappropriate place as well, completing the whole inappropriateness of the entire piece. Now, I don't know what they were thinking when they did this. You push Batman's crotch and water spurts out his face. It's sort of...
Don't ever think about putting any kind of milk in there or anything. There was a comment here. Hang on, I've just lost it. Yes, from Thomas, the madness is strong tonight. What do you expect? We're in lockdown. I mean, poor old Aaron hasn't been able to go to his store, and I'm stuck here, and absolutely insane. Christy wants us to move on. We're not the ones producing this stuff. This is official merchandise. Like I said, we've got a packet and everything, so we're just highlighting.
Talking about official merchandise, when I was putting these together, I thought, are there any real comic books that would sort of line up with what's going on in these toys? Because maybe they were just based on stuff that was in the comic. Turns out that there are. So these are actually some official comics that were really released at the time that kind of match up with some of the stuff that's going on in the toys. So if we just go to the next slide.
I think I need to. Yep.
So it's too small on my screen. Let me just enlarge it. No. So the first one, underneath I found a comic, this is for real, that has Robin saying, Batman's doing the best to sound gay, but I can tell his heart isn't really in it. The second one, where we have the water fight, good boy, hose me down. Now that's
good and wet.
Good and wet. And then the last one we have, Robin, thanks. Phew, my knees are still wobbly.
Still wobbly, yeah.
So.
Classic. Oh my goodness gracious me! So I got to say, none of these items exist in my old collection, but I tell you what, if they did, that would be very, very cool. So, what do we think of these particular items, everybody? What do you reckon, dude?
I think they've well and truly been violated.
Absolutely. So there you go.
And the worst thing is you don't see the ones that I don't choose because they're too rude to put in the subject in this segment.
Absolutely unbelievable. So yeah, very, 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 very cool. All right, so I tell you what, I need to take a sip after all that. That's just absolutely fantastic. So. And that's the funny thing, everybody. I mean, you can have people who produce their own items, like their own collectibles, like at home or whatever. But when these are things you can actually buy in markets and whatever else, you do wonder sometimes. And you'd have to be wondering, it's like, dude, seriously, what is wrong with your brain if you're thinking that way? But still, hey, it made it onto our show, so it's
These,
got to be.
these aren't even bootlegs either. These are all official products that were licensed and came out and approved by DC. So there you go.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, well, I don't know if they were all officially official, like have a tag or whatever, but someone obviously thought it was a good idea to produce it, and away they went and manufactured it, and here we go. Very, very, very cool. Do we need an adults-only segment? Yeah, well, you know, I mean, there are only adults watching this. We choose to make this a family show. We don't have to, so, but it is what it is. Anyway, let's move on to something a bit more exciting, shall we? So, oh, yeah, that was good fun. Violating toys. Oh, you can't beat it, can you? Only on this show.
Ooh, baby, do you know that's
All right, cool. All right, so what are we googling on tonight about Mr. Aaron?
So there's a rumor going around that this episode is going to be about pop vinyls. So I thought I didn't ever want to do one of these all on pop vinyls. So I did a search for Funko, and do you know what? It's all pop vinyl. So this episode is buying, selling the prices of pop vinyls.
Very, very cool. I think everybody's all a bit of a regular here, but if haven't seen this segment before, if you see that when we bring up the item, just write down what you think the price, what they sold for. So what do we got tonight?
So the ones we've got tonight all seem to be pretty rare. We've seen before when we do these pop vinyls, if they're exclusives, glow-in-the-dark, chrome versions, Comic-Con, that type of thing, they can fetch a pretty penny. So the ones tonight, I found some interesting ones from different genres, and we're going to have a look and see what we think they're going for. This is a Ultraman. It's a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive from 2019, and it's a glow-in-the-dark Ultraman.
So no Googling, no cheating, just put down a price that you think it went for. Hey, what you need is a San Diego Comic-Con 2020 exclusive. Just Photoshop a different date, and people go, oh, my God, that was so exclusive. The event didn't happen, but the merchandise was still produced, and watch people go completely bananas over it. So very, very cool. Joel's giving me two prices. I'm assuming he's going for the 630. So we'll stick with that. Angie's other $2. Jess, good to see Jess here, is at 380. Moneybag Sullivan's at 450. Carol's at 590. Colin's at 150. Jeffro is at 30. Natasha still prepared to hand over the little dude. Is at 674 as her firstborn. 370 for Thomas. Adrian's at 300. Rob's at 15. Christine's 1,000. Oh my goodness gracious. Mark is at 50. Josh was at 12.50, so there you go. 250 for William and 225 for Dave. There you go. Very, very cool. As we've argued, or as I've argued on this show before, something that might be exclusive from a couple of years ago may have a bit of value, but whether it'll still maintain that value 20 years down the track is anybody's guess. Violating Ultraman, once again, if you didn't violate Batman earlier, is violating Ultraman, is the vial for 255. So there you go. Very, very cool stuff. All right, so it's the Funko Pop Ultraman San Diego Comic-Con 2019. Glows in the dark. Oh, how good is that? So what do you reckon it went for? It went for a whopping $1.25. Where's Greg when you need him?
I'd have bought that for that price. I think that's a steal. But obviously, I think there's so many pops that get listed. That's probably quite a rare pop, but who's on there looking for Ultraman? So maybe they should have listed it with a reserve or at a higher price. It had two bids, so there were a couple of people after it, but $1.25 seems cheap for a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive.
I'll tell you what, if John had knocked the zero off at the end, he would have had it, right? But 1,250 is about so far removed from the actual price is not funny. And Ange got it at $2. Had Greg King been here, the two of them could have snapped it in half and had a go. So there you go, Ange. You've just chucked in $2 and you got it. So isn't that interesting? From 2 years ago, an exclusive and all the rest of it, and it just didn't go anywhere. So not all pops are worth a shitload of money. So there you go. Anyway, let's move on, shall we, to the next item. What have we got?
This is an interesting one. It's one of those crossovers you didn't know that you needed. It's a SpongeBob SquarePants dressed as a Ninja Turtle Funko playset. This was also a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive. There was only 1,000 pieces of this one made, and it's from 2014, so it's a little bit older than the last one. And you've got Plankton as Shredder there as well. So you've got SpongeBob green instead of yellow as a Ninja Turtle. There you go.
Very cool. Christy said she never gets these right. That's part of the fun of it, Christy. It's just mucking around. There's nothing serious in it, so it's all good. And you are right, Dave. Yeah, when the postage costs more than the actual item, you do wonder what's the point, eh? If you're the owner of the item, you just sort of throw it out and save yourself the trouble. All right, let's go for it, shall we? So Joel's at 400. Jess is at 500. Andrew got the last one at $2. Has now shoved in a whole lot of twos. Adrian's at 250. Natasha is at 800. Christy, hang on, sorry. Christy's at 1 cent. Oh, you're not very optimistic after the $1,000 bid earlier. 250 for Thomas. Moneybag Sullivan's at 350. Carol's excited about this. $450. Collins at 55. John, don't just pike out. It's only our second item for crying out loud. Stick with the show, son. $60 for the vial. $650 for William. Mark has said 20. So there you go. That's where we're at the moment. Rob has said 400. Dave looks like 75. It does look like a lunchbox. That's a very good. And maybe you can convert it to a lunchbox. You never know. So yeah, very, very cool. Good stuff. All right, so that's what we've got so far. It's all very, very good and exciting. Funko SpongeBob Leonardo, another San Diego Comic-Con for 2014. One of 1,000. How good is that? Anyway, the price of this went for a whopping one. Look at that for comparison to the last one. $1,200.
If John had put his bid that he did last time on this one, he would have got it.
Yep, absolutely. Anything you want to say about this while I have a look at some numbers?
No, I think that's pretty cool. You're right. It looks like a lunchbox and it looks like a TV. It's a multifunctional thing, isn't it? So that's pretty cool. I did think that one was a cool item.
I think Tasha's got this at 800. She has to add in $400, so she may have to sell the little dude, her firstborn, after all, to make up the difference. But I think you may be it there, Tash. Well done. Isn't that? I mean, I personally don't see it. Sorry, go on.
Don't you think Tash would sell off some of Dave's movie posters before she started on the children?
Which you could sell off the Frankenstein. So there you go. But yes, I like this. Thomas here. What's a pop vinyl? Music records. Exactly right. I personally don't see it. I mean, some of these prices you go, mate, who the hell would pay that much for this? But clearly someone did. One bid. And yeah, that's a lot of money for a moldy green sponge. Can't argue with that. So there you go. So we had like a couple of bucks in one item. $1,200 in this item. It really is a completely difficult thing to sort of determine. Very, very cool. And yes, we move on. All right, so what do we got now? Oh, Star Wars.
Now, this is an interesting one because at one point I had this one myself but sold it years ago. But this is another San Diego Comic-Con exclusive. It's a limited edition Droids Boba Fett. So what you've got is Boba Fett, but he's in slightly different colors from the normal Boba Fett because he's from the Droids cartoon. So Boba Fett, one of the most popular characters in the Star Wars universe. Limited edition, so going to be worth more. Pop, so super popular. Surely this one is not going to be a $2 pop.
How can you say he's normal color scheme? Because he's got different color schemes now. You got the busted up look from the start from the movies, and then you got the perfectly repainted version from Mandalorian. So there is no official look anymore. So very, very cool. And we had a couple of new visitors join us too. We had Georgia's joined us, Georgia, and Gavin's finally made it, which is awesome. Okay, Joel said 1,200. Moneybag Sullivan's at 1,500. Andrew's gone for all his twos again. Jess is at 1,300. Mark is at 500. Christie's at 950. Natasha, go on the $3,000. Maybe she's selling some spanking stuff after all. Adrian's at 1190. Good old Gavin. Good to see you, Gavin, joining us. 576. Carol's at 1,800. Violating Boba Fett at 1978, which is absolutely fantastic. Which was when Boba Fett first premiered to the world in the holiday special. Collins at 250. Thomas is at 70. Williams at 475. Jeffro is a bit of a pop dude. Is at 1,000. Come on, John. Yeah, well done. 350. You never know if you might get this one. I like this one from Dave, 1138. Absolutely love it. And Rob has said 35, which is a very, 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 very cool. So there you go. Good old Boba Fett from Droids. Oh, golly God. How many people have actually even watched the Droid series? I know I certainly didn't. Did you ever watch it at all?
I watched them all. The interesting thing when we're saying about the regular colors, he probably had more screen time in Droids than he did in Empire and Jedi. So that's probably more his normal look.
Yeah, well, obviously he would have had a lot more than the movies because his screen time in the movies was pretty small. So there you go. Yeah, there we go. Jeffro watched it, which was very, very cool. All right, so what do we reckon he went for? Good old Bubble Fat. He went for a whopping. Oh, look at this. He went for a whopping $1,700 effing dollars. How about that?
I know, that's crazy. It just shows you how popular and what a fan base pop finals have got. I have to say, if I had $1,700 to buy on a toy, I'd rather get the hot toy version or something like that. But you see this all the time with pops. They do hold their value, and there's a huge collector's base. And when you get a limited edition one of a popular character, the price just goes through the roof.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous in my opinion. Carol, so this is on the way to Ballarat. Has to add an extra $100 to it, but good on you, Carol. Well done. If you sell Glenn, your husband, you might be able to make that extra $100. So, yes, very, very cool. That is a very good question. If it was worth more or less from the holiday special, I reckon it would be worth a lot more because it was his first appearance in ever, and of course he had a different outfit as well. So yes, that would be my my view. What do you reckon?
I think the whole how much it's worth is depending on how many they make. So if it was the holiday special version and they only made like 100 of them, then it'd be worth just as much, kind of thing, you know.
Very, very cool. All right, let's go for it.
Here's another one at one point I had and has departed as well. But this is headless Ned Stark from Game of Thrones. So this is one of the earlier pops when this came out. It was, I think, Game of Thrones season 2. So that's how long ago it was. This was a very popular pop of a very popular show at the time. And this is, again, a limited edition one of Ned Stark. Now, do we think Game of Thrones has held its value over the years, though?
I love that. A very popular pop that was popular at the time. I mean, mate, all you have to do is add a couple of...
Every time Dags or Aaron says pop, you have to slam down a Romulan owl.
Yeah, you need to add in a couple of snaps and crackles to have all match up all those pops. So there you go. All right, so what do we got here? Joel is at 3,200. Colin's at 1,500. Jess is at 723. Andrew's still sticking with all his twos. Adrian's at 50. Moneybag Sullivan's at 300. Thomas is at 600. Violating Ned Stark is the Violet 75. Yeah, actually, even I thought so, Dave. I thought he's related to Tony Stark. Yeah, exactly right. Christie is at $8. Sorry, different spelling, but whatever. Mark is at 2,500. Williams at 120. Natasha's at 150. Plus Dave's Miss Piggy teapot. She loves that teapot. Don't believe anything else that she tells you. 27 from Gavin. $1,000 from John. Good to see you sticking with us, John. Come on, man. He's only got one more item after this. Carol's at 2,500. She got some money to spend now after buying the last item. 37 for Rob. And Dave is at 50 cents. Oh, goodness gracious, mate. I'll tell you what, Dave, if you were to get this at 50 cents, I'd be very, very impressed. So there you go. Headless Ned Stark. Limited edition. You can always guarantee when someone puts that in, oh, my God, they're expecting the price to go through the roof. So did it. The Headless Ned Stark, it went for a whopping $1,735. What is wrong with people in this world?
I know, and it's even like not even advertised properly because I can see his head.
Yeah, exactly. Jeepers creepers. Very good. I think off the top of my head, boom tish, Colin got this at 1,500. Actually, I think he has to add an extra $235. But there you go. So in the past 2 or 3 items, you coughed up like $4 or $5 grand or whatever. It's like that's just freaking ridiculous. So yeah, I agree, Tom. It's just freaking bullshit crazy, in my opinion. But anyway, last item. Let's get this pop shit over and done with. What do we got? Look at this. More Star Wars.
Here we go. So this is the last pop in this section for the evening. This is the holographic Darth Maul pop. It was a 2012 San Diego Comic-Con exclusive. There was 480 pieces, so they were limited to less than 500. But Boba Fett, there was only 100 of that. So yeah, we could expect probably for it to be going around the same amount, I would say. Could we? Maybe not. It's from episode 1. Has episode 1 pop vinyl limited edition San Diego Comic-Con Darth Maul held its value? I don't know.
See, you can't say that because he appears in Clone Wars and Rebels, and his characterization in those shows is absolutely outstanding.
Yeah, that's true. So
you could say like when he gets cut in half in Phantom Menace, you can't say he's the Maul with it all because he isn't Maul. Anyway, all right, he's only half the man he used to be. All right, so Joel has gone for 3,100, and how's this? The judge has gone the big $30,000 effing dollars. She's prepared to sell her Hyundai gets for that one, I reckon, to make that kind of money. Thomas is at $4 grand. Moneybag Sullivan's at 1,850. Ange is stuck in a few extra twos. Colin's at 2,300. Carol's at 500. Marcus at 5,000. Adrian, no one's going cheap. 40. Where's Greg when I need him to put $2 in? 4,300 from Adrian. Christy, 1,250 was in 2 pieces. Stick it together. Jess has gone the $67, so she's not optimistic about this. Neither is Rob at 28. Williams at 2,100. The Vile wants to violate them all at $2,000. You can interpret that statement any way you like. Gavin has said 200. Dave is at 10,000. Yes. Oh, hang on. Yeah, Jess said 67. Yeah. Did I say 67? I thought I did. Yeah, 67. Yeah, that's correct. Very, very cool. Claire has come in at $7. You can tell Claire's a Star Trek fan. So there you go. I love it, Carol. Well done. $2 on behalf of Greg King. It's a lockdown. Where the hell would people be except at home watching us? So there you go. Although if he says he's watching the Paralympics, I'll let him off the hook. So very,
you
very
know
cool.
what? Maybe the novelty's worn out.
Or he spent the $2 and he says, I've got no need to turn up anymore. So there you go. All right. So the Star Wars 23 hologram Darth Maul from 2012 San Diego Comic-Con, only 480 pieces. Why 480 is anybody's guess. What do you reckon it went for, kids? We've got some pretty crazy prices on the listing. It went for $14,000. That's bullshit.
That's absolutely insane. And the crazy thing about that is there's been a couple on Australian eBay in the last month or two. If that one was too expensive for you, you could have hung out for the other one, went for $9,000. So there's been two that have achieved massive prices in the last couple of months.
That makes no sense to me whatsoever. I think Dave is at 10,000. He still has to cough up an extra 4. But that's just. I mean, see, I don't know anybody on the show right now who even the pop vinyl fans out there would say, yeah, I'd cough up that much for this. That is ridiculous. So if you are a pop vinyl fan or a collector out there, would you pay that much for this? So I reckon that's just ridiculous.
I tell you what, I would have loved to pay the $10 US it would have cost if you could go back to the convention and grab one.
Yeah, I tell you what. I think you did, Dave. There's numbers all above you and around you, but I think you're the closest. So... But I'll tell you who didn't get it. Tasha at 30,000. But if she was prepared to cough that much up, she'd get 16 back. So there you go. Yeah, I got to say that's it. Yeah, I agree, Jess. That's insane.
She was buying 2.
Yeah. Totally agree. Yeah, exactly. It's just sorry, wrong one. Wrong button. Sorry, things keep moving. A small car. Yeah, it's ridiculous. You can sell a bloody Toyota Yaris and buy one of these. Yeah, I think justifying that is insane. I think it's one of those things you buy it, you get it, and you look at it and go, oh my God, how much did I spend on this? So anyway, so yeah, very, very cool. So that's very, very good. Now, before everybody buggers off, because I know that not everybody's into pop vinyls, I think we've got something we need to sort of bring up. Look at this. It's very, very cool. It's commercial time. Yes, we're going to actually put a commercial into the actual show. How good is this? So... for those out there who may or may not be interested, it's all happening on Monday night at 8 o'clock, 8 p.m. So it's happening live on Facebook, just like this show is, and on YouTube as well. After effectively almost a year and a half, if not 2 years absence, good old Sci-Fi Zone is returning. So... for those who never saw the show, we actually did do a talk show about science fiction movies and TV shows back in 2019, maybe 25 episodes of that. Last year kicked us in the complete guts, and that was the end of that. We couldn't do anything because of the lockdown, but we're doing an online live version starting on Monday. And, of course, the key thing is that it has new topics and discussions and the long-awaited return of a familiar face. We've got Claire joining us again, and she hasn't been on the show for 2 years. So it's going to be absolutely fantastic. So if you're into your sci-fi movies and TV shows, and we're just having a bit of a chinwag and discussions and talks, Monday evening is when we're kicking off. And you'll see the link for this episode on in the next couple of days. It's Wednesday now, isn't it? At least by the weekend. So it'll give you the topic of the discussion. And everybody's welcome to join in, watch the show, and put in their comments, and we'll have a bit of fun with it. So there you go, the zone. So you can say, yes, we're back in the zone. How good is that? So very, very cool. Anything you want to say, Mr. Aaron, before we move on to something more exciting than this?
No, just looking forward to seeing it again. And it's different format because it's live now. The old ones were pre-recorded, weren't they?
Yeah, that was the problem. We couldn't discuss anything that was current because we had to record 6 episodes in advance, and it was that was the downside to it because of we were filming in a comic book store and all that. All those episodes, for those who are interested, are actually on YouTube or the Sci-Fi Zone webpage, so you can go and check it out and look at a bit of history because some of the stuff that we discussed back then is still relevant today. So because we didn't cover everything that was current, we did discuss things from the past, and of course that stuff doesn't get old.
Probably.
So,
some of the movies that you were looking at that were about to come out are still about to come out.
Very good. And you are right, Gavin. I shall be premiering a brand new outfit. So there you go. So given this shirt, the How's Your Father, and I've got something special in mind for that show. So Very, very cool. What do you reckon?
I think it's about time you changed.
Totally agree. And you're right, Claire. Yeah, Claire's has a slightly different look these days, but she still looks good and sounds good, which is the most important thing. So there you go. All right, so it's time to gas bag about, I guess, the feature presentation. What are we discussing tonight, Mr. Aaron? Because I think we've kind of got it all figured out already. Is that right?
Yeah, well, as we saw last week, we thought Biff had meddled with the timelines and all future collectibles were going to turn into pops, but it turned out that it was Spankin probably killed Marty McFly with a bone. And so we're looking at the alternate timelines now where we actually go there and look at pop vinyls. So this episode is a bit of a different one. We're not just looking at the products. A couple of years ago, I actually got to go to Funko headquarters. So there's a bit of a look at Funko headquarters. Then there's some of the more popular pop vinyls that have been released over the years. And then finally, we're going to look at the value of some of the more expensive ones.
Did you mention Spankin?
Yeah.
Never gets old. I have to wait for you to stop talking so I can actually get that in. So there you go. All right. So, yes, where once you pop, you can't stop. Look at this. It's the coolest looking dude in the universe next to the coolest looking place in the universe. What have we got?
And he hasn't got a hat on either. But this is the Funko HQ shop in Everett in Washington State, which is the city above Seattle in Washington, up near the Canadian border. And this is it's kind of like, I guess, the Disneyland for pop vinyl collectors. And I had the opportunity to go and visit there in 2019 and take the family and take some photos with some pops and get some exclusive pops and have a look around. So this is just a quick tour through the Funko HQ.
Now, the irony, of course, of this entire discussion, and just to clarify for people who haven't really sort of picked up on it, Aaron's not a fan of pop vinyls at all. You don't even like them. So it'd be like a Doctor Who fan. No, that's not going to work. A Doctor Who fan going to an exhibition where it's just the 13th Doctor and nothing else is there. Oh my goodness! So yes, exactly right.
The only Doctor Who pop that I own is the 13th Doctor because someone gave it to me as a gift because they said I knew I wouldn't have it. So.
Obviously, they didn't like you because they gave it to you, exactly right. And I'll get just for people out there are no pops at all in the house that I live in, right? Like zero, right? But there was a period of time when Lynn lived in this house. When Lynn's son lived in this house, and he was given one as a gift, believe it or not, from a Metallica band member, right? And I thought of all the people, because he's not a fan of anything like sci-fi or no pop culture. I thought of all the people in the world to have a pop vinyl in the house was her son, because of a Metallica band member. And I thought, oh my God, we've broken the record and we've now got one here. But he ended up moving out last year and he took it with him. So we're back to zero again, which is absolutely fantastic. So very, very cool.
That is the genius with pop. They've gone after so many different licenses that even if you don't like them, there'll be something that you need because they've never brought out any other toy of it. But we'll look at that a bit later. So this is Funko HQ. You can see from outside there is life-size pops all over the building and even on the bridge that goes across to the car park. So you've got a few, and yep.
It's all right. We're going to move on because otherwise we'll be stuck on this front page. Because I know you show pictures of this later on. Thomas said he half an hour and a half ago didn't even know what a pop vinyl was. Believe it, by the end of this show, you're going to be sick to the death of the damn things. Anyway, so yes, this is the headquarters. It looks fantastic. It's like shit everywhere. And let's move around. What do you got?
There we go. So there's some of the pop vinyls that decorate the building. There's Huckleberry Hound and Grape Ape and Batman and the Hulk and Spider-Man. And Funko have done one of the things that not a lot of other companies have done. They've managed to unite Marvel and DC and a whole heap of other stuff and have them all in the same building. So there's something for everyone.
Yeah, it's pretty insane, isn't it? It's like their own version of Who Framed Roger Rabbit because they had DC. Well, not DC. Was it Warner Brothers and somebody else, Disney's characters together in the one film, and they took a lot of negotiating. So, yeah. Very impressive.
So once you get inside, there's all these different areas for different collectibles. I went straight, of course, to the Star Wars section where you can see there is probably a bigger than life-size Wampa and Luke hanging from the roof. There's snowtroopers and Vader coming through the snow trenches on Hoth, and then there's again a life-size Tauntaun with Han Solo on. And then, of course, because it's a a Funko place. Everywhere there's all these awesome displays. There's also all this awesome merchandise that you can buy as well, and a lot of it is exclusive just to the shop. So a lot of the stuff when you go there you haven't seen anywhere else. And by exclusive I mean maybe one of the jackets is a different color and it has a little sticker on it that says exclusive color to this shop kind of thing. But there was a lot of people buying a lot of it just because you could only get it from there.
Yeah, that's a very, very common thing in these sort of places. Stuff that you can only get there and nowhere else. Disney is notorious for having merchandise like that. Excuse me. Gavin said nothing for me. I actually, no, these things don't interest me in the slightest, so I'm happy not to be involved. There you go. Yes, very, very cool.
And, of course, here's the Batman section, and I was particularly impressed by this because they had a life-size replica of the 60s TV Batcave. So there even was a Batmobile, again, full size, that you could hop into. And the Batman in it wasn't a pop vinyl Batman. It was a real Adam West Batman. And you'll see the one thing through these slides. That's my son there. Totally not impressed by the whole experience. Every single one of them has a face, I wish I wasn't here. So I was like a kid in a candy store going around getting pictures with all these big pop vinyl figures, and my son was like, do we have to do this, Dad? When are we getting out of here? So there you go.
Yeah, what's wrong with that picture, kiddies out there? It's like usually it's the kids who can't get enough of this stuff, and the adults go, "Oh my god, boring." But because I was going to say, look, they made a Funko Pop vinyl in the shape of your kid. How good's that? But yes,
Yeah.
he's got the Frankenstein.
Much like the Funko Pops, my child has black dead eyes.
Yeah, I was going to say it's like the Frankenstein we saw in the very first part of the episode. The writer, he's got the expression of like, I'd rather be somewhere else. Yeah.
And this again is the Marvel section and a couple of the other franchises. So you've got Stan Lee there at the newspaper stand with life-size pop vinyls all over the roof. You've got the Hulk smashing through the wall. You've got a Godzilla, which isn't quite life-size, but it's pretty damn huge. And then you've got that sort of blends into the Disney side of things where you've got Sleeping Beauty's castle with the dragon and, again, different life-size pops from the Disney franchise. You've got a Jack Skeleton down there. There was this big woods, which reminded me of the Living Island from H.R. Puffin stuff, and there was all these amazing pop creatures through that. Different version of Batman and the Hulkbuster. So all of these are freaking huge, but they get you there. You think they're awesome, but they're just getting you there to buy pops, really.
I love it how you said the Godzilla wasn't like life size. I mean, even Funko couldn't build a life size Godzilla that's like bigger than the Empire State Building or something. Yeah, even them got to say, enough's enough in terms of scale. But it'd be a massive trap. I can imagine like when 2022 kicks in and all these places open up, every man and his dog is going to be like hanging out to go to the place like this they couldn't go to last year or this year. And it's just a money-making machine. So who wants to do the old ka-ching, ka-ching sound effect, those registers will be running off the hook. So, but that's the nature of how the business works.
And, of course, here is some of the displays of stuff you could buy there. Because it was me, of course, I went around and took pictures of all the exclusive Doctor Who stuff and the Star Wars stuff. But I got out of here pretty cheap because, like I said, I'm not a big pop vinyl fan. I love toys. So I loved going just to have a look around and seeing toy shops. I'm a big fan of toys and toy shops, and it was a great place to go. But I got out there with only a couple of figures. I bought an exclusive Freddy Funko that could only be bought in the shop. And then down in the bottom right corner, you can see there's like a factory production line. And to get my my son to smile, you could make your own pop. You could only make one per person per day because it would be a one-off pop, and they changed all the parts that were available each day. And I said, why don't you try and make a pop that nobody else has ever made and would be totally unique? So he rise to the challenge of that one at least and had a bit of fun putting a pop together.
Yeah, look, a lot of people love him, Gavin. I don't have an interest in him. I find it fascinating that actually Aaron doesn't, because I thought being a collector of toys and stuff would be right up his alley. But if they're here and people, it's a collectible thing and whatever else, and good luck to them. So, so it's not for everybody. Just ironically, it's just not for the two of us. So, if Godzilla was bigger than the Empire. Oh, Empire. When I say ESB, I'm thinking The Empire Strikes Back. Sorry, my Star Wars brain just won't switch off. Yeah, exactly right. Sorry there, Claire. I can't get the Star Wars out of my freaking head. What can I say? But yes, it's very cool. Any pops on sale for $14,000 freaking dollars? That's a damn good question, Colin. I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
I do
No,
wonder.
they
But
do
the ones that they reject. Sorry, go on. What?
They do have exclusive days where they put out popular pops that are only available from the shop on that day. And, you know, they release a couple of thousand of them, and there might be a chase figure in those. So there might only be 12 or 10 of that figure made. And if you get one of those at the day, they cost about $10, but they are the ones that go for thousands of dollars. So it is getting the golden ticket from the Wonka factory.
Can you imagine, like anybody watching this who's a fan of pop vinyls, you work in the marketing department or the merchandising department of Funko. So you've actually got the boardroom, and they sit there and they say, okay, what can we do today to produce something that the fans will go completely ballistic over tomorrow? Right. And that's when they say, yeah, as you said, they'll produce an item that's only available for one day, or do a variant 5 different days in a row. And of course, they may end up saying, oh, we've produced this one item, but we've got 5 others that are almost identical, but they're variants. Collect them all. I mean, the bonuses that they'd be given out to those employees would be just absolutely phenomenal. And of course, it's the suckers who buy these things who just be like drooling. You know, imagine that you go, oh my God, I got this particular rarity that came out today, but someone says, but this one came out yesterday and you missed it. Oh, yeah, it's not good.
I totally understand, though, because I collect Star Wars variants. So, you know, there'll be one figure, and just because it's got a different, you know, mark on the leg of where it was made, one figure's worth 10 and the next one's worth 500. I mean, it's crazy, but it's, I can't, sorry, yeah.
But the difference is this has been done intentionally, like deliberately. Yes. And as part of it, not accidentally, or not like, oh, it was just a bit of a manufacturing error. Someone's actually designing and creating these things. I mean, it's just the nature of the beast. And, you know, and as I'm sitting here right now, I can hear the Australian national anthem. So there's obviously on the TV in the other room. So obviously there's been goal, goal, goal for Australia. So very, very cool.
So here is the pop assembly station, and you can see all the different color tubes have different color heads in, and you basically go around the assembly station with a little basket, and you pick your head, your bodies, your arms, your legs, and then you put them all together and you get a unique pop. There's a couple of just short videos there of the assembly station and pop factory.
So what you need to do is find a pop that actually looks like us. So I can imagine that. I'm wearing this shirt, you've got your hat on, and the world is good. So what do you reckon, eh?
There you go.
Very cool. Now, just to prove that Kale, as in Garen's son, did actually have a good time, look at that. He actually does have a smile on his face. Yay, team.
He did, and it was really funny because the day we went, the theme was they had monsters and Marvel, so you could make your own unique monster or Marvel superhero, and there was all the and when you get the pop, you take it up and it gets put in a proper pop box. This is before he got it put in the box, and it was funny because all the other people we were going up and they were going, oh, that's really amazing, Captain America with a pink shield, or that's really cool, like Frankenstein, but you're giving him horns. And my son put this up and they were like, oh my God, what have you made? And he was just like, well, I just wanted to make something no one else had made. So they said, you don't want to give him matching horns at least? And he's like, no, because he's got an antler and a horn, and he's got a Cthulhu mouth and a frog on the head as hair. And then he loaded him up with as many accessories as he could. So he's got like a pink shield and I think it's a sword there as well. So I really do think that he has a unique pop that no one else will ever have, because they change the parts every day, so you can't come back and make the same one again.
So what you need to do is find a box that this will go in, Photoshop a brand new like item and put a new manufacturing number and all the rest of it, and just say it's a limited edition. Don't say he made it, just say it was produced, and just see, and stick it on eBay as a joke, and just see how nuts people go for it, thinking it was an actually officially released item. So could be very interesting. Thomas, Hot Wheels, everybody does it. It makes sense, you know. I mean, you produce something that's exclusive for people, the value goes up. As I said, Disney do it all the time. You go to Disney World and Disneyland and whatever else. It's just the nature of the beast. So, but yes, very, very cool.
There we go. So that's the end of the tour of Funko HQ. And now we're going to just look at Funko and pop collecting. Now, I don't know if people know this. Before pops were around, Funko actually did other stuff before they kind of hit on the winning formula of pop vinyls. And they did some pretty cool stuff. And some of the stuff that they did, I actually collected myself. So up the top there, you've got the Funko Vision sets, which they did quite a few of, and they're television sets, and inside them are the actual characters, and you could take the characters out of the TV and play with them kind of thing. I had the Scooby-Doo one and a couple of others, and they were actually really cool. They did a really good job. I think not unlike Pops, the dimensions were all correct, so you could use the figures as action figures, and they looked correct. And cartoons particularly came out really well. The TVs had like a diorama in the background of the show, so you could put them in and they look like a scene from your favorite cartoon show. Now, they had some other stuff and different products. They had something called spastic plastic, which were kind of like they were kind of getting towards Pops. They were sort of, I guess, little vinyl statues, but they didn't quite have the same big heads that Pops had. They came out with a lot of their own original characters as well before they started going down the path of actually licensing a lot of different things. So did you ever get into any of this at all or see them around, Dags?
No, not at all. The only place I would have seen stuff like this is at your shop, and I wasn't into collecting stuff. And just for people out there wondering, the reason why I'm playing with my nose is I carried my cat earlier. If you see my cat, she's white and fluffy, and I've got cat hair on my freaking nose, and I can't get rid of it. So I'm not sitting here like drilling for oil or anything. I can see it in my eye line, my cat hair. So it's giving me the shits, but I can't get rid of it. So as long as you keep talking, people won't notice. So very, very cool.
Yeah. So we get to the really early Pops, and these were the first ones that were released. They were released at San Diego Comic-Con, and they were in sort of those plastic clamshells, and then they were re-released as in the boxes that we sort of know and love. And that's Batman was number one, and you could get him in different colors, and there was the Green Lantern and Batgirl as well. And down in the bottom corner there are the original artist designs of the first Pops. And you can see that they hit on the design that they pretty much have stuck with for the next, I guess, about 12 years. So...
I just got the joke from Joe, lay off the white stuff. And I was thinking, what the hell is he talking about? I realized because my cat's white. Yeah, very, very cool. Here's an interesting comment from Thomas. It's like, apparently we've actually taught people stuff, which is kind of amazing. Why are you collecting and what you are collecting? Well, yeah, knowing what it is, and it ultimately comes down to your limitations as to if you're going to collect anything in your life, do it because you want to do it and know what your limits are and try to avoid becoming addicted to it. And you don't want to be, and I'll tell you a very quick story. I actually knew a couple, a married couple, this is like back in the 1990s. They actually told me one time that they were collectors of toys and stuff and boxes and whatever else, and they were actually not eating. They were actually not having any food for dinner because they had no money, yet they were surrounded by tons of merchandise. And I thought, yeah, that's kind of a bit extreme. So do it because of the love of it, but collect within your means. And I know for a lot of people that's hard to do because a lot of stuff is so expensive, like $17,000 or $14,000 bloody pop vinyls. But if you're going to learn a lesson out of this show, then that's it. Do it because you love it and you know when to pop or when to not pop, I suppose. Anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, it's interesting people are learning stuff, because I was pretty sure that at the end of every one of these shows that people's IQs had actually gone down after watching us. So, and I totally agree with Dags. Like, a lot of people ask me, what should I collect as an investment? And I say, don't do it. Like, collect what you like, because then if it doesn't go up in value or it does go up, it doesn't matter. You've still got a collection of stuff that you enjoy.
With that in mind, Gavin's got 20 Yoda pop vinyls. That's a lot of vinyl variations of good old Yoda, that's for sure, which is absolutely... I like that one, yeah, to pop or to stop. Yeah, very, very cool. And now this is... now, Joe's brought up an interesting one about the documentary that a lot of people may not know about. So I may have a chat to Aaron later on, and maybe next week we can have a discussion about what I had and the documentary that was made, even if it's just a brief talk. But for those who don't know, I used to be a Batman collector. I stopped collecting, as I said, back in 1997. But there was a documentary film made about when I collected and why I stopped. And it's not available anywhere at the moment. It was in festivals last year, but it's sort of because of the COVID thing, it's sort of all sort of just disappeared. But the producer has told me they are trying to find an outlet for it at the moment. But at the very least, I can sort of show people a trailer and have a bit of a chat about it and show some pictures of what I used to have, which is now currently in storage, and we'll go from there. What do you reckon? Yep, sound good?
Yeah, I think that'd be really cool.
Cool. All right, let's move on to the pop stuff, shall we? So, yes, speaking of people collecting too much, what do you reckon?
Well, here we go. This is the collection at the top and the guy that's in those pictures. He is in the Guinness Book of Records of having the biggest pop collection in the world at the moment. And I find what's really interesting about that, all his stuff is opened. A lot of people who collect stuff don't open everything. And I think he had between 3,000 and 4,000 pops, which is a lot of pops. Now, down the bottom, I found this other YouTuber when I was researching this episode who does a show just on pop vinyls, and he gets thousands and thousands of views, and he just shows his collection, talks about his collection. But what I found really interesting, in 2015 he had 3 shelves of a couple of dozen pops, and by 2020 he's got rooms full of them. So like what Dags was saying, you can get a bit addicted to this stuff, and it does take over the house. So you've just got to do things in moderation, and obviously they get a lot of enjoyment out of their pops, and I've done the same thing in my house with Doctor Who, so I'm not going to knock it, but there you go.
So yeah, Gavin, there's 2 ways of looking at this. The thing is, if you're buying it to resell later on, yeah, absolutely, you leave it in the box, because as we saw earlier on in the eBay section, boxed items are worth more. But if you're buying them for the fun of it and you're never, ever going to sell them, then yeah, by all means, take them out of the boxes. I personally, I'm a boxer, leave everything mint. Aaron's an unboxer, so we have completely different perspectives on that. And Claire has asked whether the guy still has the boxes. Do you know the answer to that question at all?
I didn't see that. I read a couple of interviews, and it didn't actually talk about them being boxed or unboxed. I would say, even if you unbox them, that's a lot of, even if you fold them down, that's still a lot of cardboard to be storing somewhere. Probably if he's in a collector like that, he probably does, but I don't know. I'm just guessing.
Yeah, because I think the nature of how pops work, you can take them out of the box. If you put them back in, you just shut the lid again, and it's like it never came out. I mean,
the interesting thing about pops is that they aren't taped down, so you can open them, and if you're careful, you can put them back in. And of course, when you've opened something, it does affect the value. So when I've had pop collections come through secondhand, because I don't know if they've been opened or not, when people ask me, I say they could have been opened and displayed, because you just can't tell with pops. Yeah. So there you go.
Yeah, I personally think with pops, I still can't. My brain just won't register. I still think a decade from now, they're still going to be worthless. And people who spend thousands of dollars on them just need their heads read. Simple as that. You're right, Mark. And that's the problem. A lot of people are sort of buying collections because they've got nothing to spend their money on. Instead of overseas trips, which they can't go on at the moment, house renovations, they can't do that because they're renting. They go buying, I'll just buy a couple of collections. And that's a very common problem in the past couple of years.
Do you know, one of my friends, though, said because of the price point of them, and you can get them usually in the shops, they're about $19. If you've got a friend who collects something, it's much better, if you're dating or something like that, give them a pop vinyl that they're going to enjoy and keep forever than a bunch of flowers or chocolates or something like that. And I kind of thought about that, and it does make sense. What I was saying earlier, they're very, very shrewd with what they pick as licenses for pop at Funko, because they get everything, and it's obviously very cheap to make pops, because they don't really, your brain, when they tell you what it is, your brain makes the leap to make it look like what it is. Because I've got to tell you, when I've seen them loose and I don't know what the pop is, a Marty McFly looks exactly the same as the guy from Supernatural kind of thing. They're even wearing the same stuff. But they're very smart. They're the perfect Kris Kringle. They're the perfect gift, if you're looking for something for under $20. They've got every genre from, stuff that's suitable for kids right through to horror stuff. They've got funny stuff, and they've got stuff you wouldn't see of anything else. So I can understand their appeal, and I do, respect the people that collect them.
I think based on what you just said, at one point we were going to do a segment on this show where we just show the eyes or the mask of a pop, and for people, you guys watching the show, did say what character it was, because as you said, they all look pretty much the same. But we obviously never did that. I've got a couple of things I've got to read out here. This is Thomas has suddenly he's going to be our next writer. Look at that. He can't wait till lockdown's over. He's got money to burn at Aaron's Collectibles. Look at that. And if you want to come in there and buy some pops, please do so, because I think Aaron is definitely keen to get rid of them. But you too could be a writer. Join the illustrious club. How good is that? Now, I was trying to read this from Gavin. Do not pop a popular pop. The value of the pop will definitely drop. I had to really think about that. Well done, Gavin. You've obviously spent too much time watching this show. There you go.
Yeah,
What?
So I'm a opener. I like open and display stuff. But you know what? If I bought like a $14,000 Darth Maul, that's never coming out of the box. There is like, opening for fun and just being stupid on something like that. So.
Yeah, well, we're spending the $14,000 is the stupid part. Ria, good old Rico, good old Chad. Is it pops aren't nearly as good investment as well, yeah. In this day and age, as of right now, investing in pops is definitely the go. Right? I won't deny that because it's the current thing. My argument is saying 20 years from now, 2042, 41, will they still have the same value? That's the question I'm asking. And even the stuff that I've got, a lot of the stuff that I bought in 1989 is complete shit today, but some of it is worth a bit of money. But it took decades to get there. And that's what I'm asking at the moment. And of course, we won't know until that time comes. So there you go. I'll move on. There's some extra stuff for me to read, but we'll move on in the interim. So we're at the DC section. Is that right? Last time?
Yes. Yeah, so we're going across now, and we're looking at pops from different franchises. And I looked online, and there are so many pops, you can't look at everything. So I decided just to go through the main franchises. And then when I was looking at the main franchises, there are so many pops for all of them. Again, you can't really get a good idea. So what I did a Google search for like people's top 10 and top 20 lists. And you know what? Every single one is slightly different. So when I had 4 or 5 different top 20s from different franchises, I picked the ones that sort of I thought were the best out of them. And this is, we're starting off with DC. And the DC have some really classic characters, and they translate pretty well to pops. You've got, a lot of the Justice League here. You've got Aquaman, and you've got Batman, and you've got the Flash. What's interesting about pops, though, is they never just have one of each character. And I think Batman, when I was looking through it, had, we were saying about Yoda having, quite a few different variants. Batman has hundreds of variants where you've got lots of different costumes, and then they can be metallic, glow in the dark, different colors. And then you get the same variants with different costumes from different eras. So you get the 60s Batman, the 89 Batman, the current Batman, comic book Batman, and all of that. So if you are dedicated to collecting even one character, it can be quite daunting finding everything if you're collecting pops.
Last week we discussed about all the the Iron Man variants. Now with Batman, I can understand it because the character has been on TV screens or on screens, if you want, since the 1930s, right? So you can understand there's a million different varieties. But I think you said with Iron Man, there's like 60 different varieties. But the first Iron Man movie only came out in 2010. So between then and now, right, they've been able to invent 60 or plus variations of the one character just spanning a 10-year period. That's freaking nuts.
It is crazy. I think the difference, if you're collecting Hot Toy Iron Man, every one of them is a $300, $400 pop spend straight away. Pop vinyls, at least they're only $19. And if you collect a whole lot of them, you're not going to put yourself into the poorhouse too quick. That's the difference, I think.
Yep, true. And you are right, Joe. By doing generic faces, you don't have to pay for like licenses for people and all the rest of it. So that's very, very clear. It's an ingenious concept. It really, really is, and appeals to both adults and kids. So, and you are right, Mark. A lot of people do collect for life, and good on them too. So it's your own stuff. You can do whatever you want with it. If you want to take it out of the boxes, if you want to break it in half, or give it to the dog to chew, it's entirely up to you. And it's each of their own. And some people are like that. And you're investing so much time and money of your life, and you want to keep it for life, then good for you. Yeah, no worries. And Colin's asked out of nowhere, what's the most you guys have spent on a collectible? I'll let you answer this one first because you've collected more than I have. But what do you think?
I have collected original art from some of the Doctor Who annuals, and the most expensive piece I ever bought was a piece of art from one of the 60s Dalek books, which I think was about £2,500. So it cost me about $6,000 to land. I think that was the biggest discussion I ever had to have with my wife about buying a collectible. So that, I think, is the most expensive. Oh, I bought the Doctor Who pinball machine as well, and that was, I think, you can understand the cost of that because it's such a large item. For myself, the most expensive thing I ever bought was not a sci-fi thing at all. It was actually a car racing shirt for a team that existed back in the 1980s, and I paid $600 for that. And it was just something I could not find anywhere else.
And I was very, very happy to get it. And I have worn it to the Grand Prix on a couple of occasions when there is a Grand Prix. Gavin has asked, is there a Mork and Mindy pop? It wouldn't surprise me. So
I didn't come across them looking for them. I'm sure if you Googled it, you could find it. I did find some really unusual stuff that I didn't think would ever be made. And I looked up some stuff that I thought would be made and they haven't done. So, but we are going to look at some of that later.
Yeah, very, very cool. And I agree. It wouldn't surprise me if they're out there. So just like the Fonzie stuff. All right, we move on.
So we go over from DC to Marvel, and it's again one of those things where you go through all the lists, and what do you choose? There's so many, and so many have different favorite ones. I did think some of the funny ones. You've got like Eric Banner there having shawarmas after the Avengers, like sitting at the table eating, and that's one of Marvel fans' favorite pops. I think some of the cooler ones are the cat from Captain Marvel with the alien sort of coming out, and also the Venom, the half Venom character. And then you've got Valkyrie on a very stylized Pegasus, and Thanos and Thor fighting as well. You get some more of the unusual pops. I find the pops that I like the most aren't the ones that look like pop vinyls. So you've got the Deadpool T-Rex there that doesn't really look like a pop. And then you've got Groot, which is apparently one of the biggest selling pops ever, Baby Groot in the little plant pot. I remember at Chadstone going in and seeing a store, I think it was Gift for the Geeks or something like that, and they had 2 windows, and the entire windows just before Christmas were Baby Groot pops piled to the roof. And I said to my wife, there is no way they're going to sell half of them. And over about 2 weeks, as I went back, the pile went down and down and down. And then before Christmas, people were asking, could we get them? And you couldn't because they'd sold out. So that's how many pops they sell.
Well, the Groot one is a good one to get because it's 1-to-1 scale, effectively. And I did get asked. Now, Carol used a swear word in my name, so I'm not going to put her comment up. But Joe asked me what it was. It was actually a John Player Special Lotus shirt from the 1980s. So there you go. It was in brand new condition, and $600. I was very happy to spend on it. Thank you very much.
Very cool.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely adored it, and of course it fits, and I've worn it to the braces. So yeah, very, very groovy. Very good.
Okay, then we go across to Disney, and Disney is one of those sort of licenses that really, I think, fit well with pops. I think a lot of the cartoons that you see that they do for pops and computer games probably translate better just because they're already Unreal characters. When you've got actors, you can tell they're not, going for accuracy. But when they release cartoons, they are really good, and you can see they're quite colourful, and they've got child appeal as well as the adults that grew up with the different characters. The ones that I've chosen there out of the popular ones, you've got some from The Lion King, and again the genie, even though he's a pop figure, the base of him is totally different from normal pops. And you've got Aladdin and Jasmine on the carpet, and of course you've got some from Toy Story with Woody there, and of course the classic Mickey Mouse from Fantasia with his water bottles. And one that doesn't look like a pop at all, you've got Wally down the bottom, but the one thing they all have are those cold black dead pop eyes, and even Wally has those. So they're the Disney ones, but again there are hundreds of different Disney ones, and you get one pop and there'll be all these different variations where they're metallic and glow in the dark and things like that. So I guess if you're a collector, you've got to do the thing. Do you get a character and concentrate on getting all the variants, or do you go for one of each character and not bother getting the variants?
Yeah, exactly right. Very, very good stuff. So I don't know. It's a tough question to ask, isn't it? So what do you do? I guess, Disney being such a large sort of property, people would just go completely nuts over this stuff. I can't imagine like Mickey Mouse's. Anyway, don't know.
I actually prefer these to the Disney one. These are the Hanna-Barbera one, and it gets into the area which kind of tempts me because you do see a lot of Disney toys, and you do see, sort of every favorite Disney character sort of gets a toy, even if the pops weren't coming out. But where are you going to see Hong Kong Phooey riding the Hong Kong Phooey mobile? And where are you going to see, Frankenstein Jr. and Secret Squirrel and some of these things. So I think this is where Pop wins, because if you grew up with these as a kid and you have fond memories and you've got kids of your own and you never had the toys of them because they sort of weren't popular enough for anyone to pick up the licenses, and then all of a sudden you see all these colourful, shiny pops of your favourite characters from your childhood, sometimes it's very hard to sort of resist that childhood pull on some of those things. I mean, Muttley in the car from Wacky Races, that is a very cool piece, and that doesn't look like a pop. You could display that as a Wacky Races fan quite nicely in a toy collection.
Yeah, I do agree with you on that one, in that they have been very, very clever in marketing and merchandising items that never got merchandised at all, or very little merchandise. And I know with Jeffro, who's a pop vinyl collector, he got into them because they did market things that he absolutely adored and just couldn't get merchandise for. So it's ingenious, absolutely ingenious, and very, very clever. And in that regard, yeah, I agree with you. I can completely understand why they've done it. And all power to them.
In those cases, it works because you can have a Hanna-Barbera collection, or you can have, a Wacky Races collection, and you have your whole collection, and then you have about 4 or 5 pops in it. And you don't have to collect everything because they're not pumping out millions of them. And from that point of view, I think they're a very cool collectible.
Joe says his wife laughs like Muttley. If that's the case, you'd be cracking jokes all the time just to get her to laugh, wouldn't you? Gavin has asked if there's any banana splits. I don't know. Do you know?
I haven't got any tonight, but they did do the banana splits, and they are very cool pops. So yeah, there are the banana splits. Yeah,
very, very cool.
And of course, we've got the Star Wars pops. And again, you could do a whole show on Star Wars pops because they've done so many of them. So these are some of the different ones. And all the favorites lists have, the prequels and the sequels and the new Disney ones. And I just mixed them all up and took the ones maybe that were a bit more different and a bit more interesting. And you've got Chewbacca from one of the holiday specials, or just for Christmas version, having a play with the Christmas lights. You've got Darth Vader reveal. A baby Ewok, which is a cute little pop. The new version of Lando. Jabba the Hutt, which is also a very cool pop. Darth Tyrannus and the Emperor. And, of course, you've got Admiral Akbar down the bottom there. And on one side, it's kind of bookends. You've got Luke and Leia and even a little Dianoga. And then on the other side, you've got Kylo Ren with one of the Praetorian Guards. So Star Wars is very, very well catered for by Funko.
Like this, the vial is a pop. Yeah, he should be. The Emperor one here, he looks really satanic, doesn't he? He's really having a hard day at the office. He's really there. He's not the happiest camper in the world. And the Jabba up here, it actually looks a lot like the baby Roku from the Clone Wars.
Roto the Hutt, wasn't it?
Roto, yeah, from the Clone Wars. So, yeah, good on my argue. You just have it in 2 different boxes with 2 different character names and have exactly the same figure. So, yeah, right. That's the reason why they look so cute. So, yeah, you'd be happily chained up to him. So, there you go. But he's still got that tongue, though. Yes, very, very great.
And this is one of those sort of paradoxes where you've got horror pops, where you've got pops of, horrific R-rated adult characters, and they're in cute pop form. So you've got Jack from The Shining and Ghostface Killer. One of the probably most unusual pops is Pinhead, because usually they've got the smooth heads, but this is like got the little pins all over it. You've got, of course, Jason and Pennywise, Chucky, who is a little bit smaller, Michael Myers. You've got Regan from The Exorcist. I really do like the Hannibal Lecter full on in his gear, all strapped up, and of course Freddy Krueger. So I do know a few customers and a few friends that just collect horror movie pops, and there are some crackers. There are some really good horror movie pops, and it is another one of those things where if you collect horror movies particular, usually you can only find sort of high-end collectibles. Even the figures that come out for horror movies are usually about $50 and up, because they do small runs. It's a smaller license, so they have to sell sell less at a higher price to make it worthwhile. So getting a $20 pop of some of your favorite horror characters is quite a good option if you're looking for something unusual and good to go in your collection.
What I like about the Pinhead one, you just want to get the cotton reel and just like roll it around and join string up and make a bit of a pattern out of it. So yeah, very, very cool. Yeah, I like that. Looks like a leprechaun. Very, very cool. Yeah, a lot of people are very, very Yes, good old Freddy. Yeah, it is not the kind of thing you'd see in a nightmare, eh? So, but I agree with you. The contradiction of having a horror character done as what is effectively in a cutesy way, it just doesn't add up, does it? So, yes, very, very cool.
And here's some of the TV show ones. And my probably my favorite pop down is down there, the robot from Lost in Space, which actually, once you've got it out of the box, it's quite a good toy. It doesn't have that same sort of pop shape just because you're adapting something that's totally different from the human shape. We've got some really interesting stuff there. The one on the top from the regular show is the gumball machine guy, and he's actually got real gumballs in his head, sort of plastic ones, so when you move him around they all shake. That's a really unusual one. And you've got the Wendigo there, and we were talking about Firefly earlier. Firefly didn't put out a lot of merchandise and a lot of fans, so the Firefly pops are very popular. They did a whole range of Ninja Turtle ones, and they've done Buffy. Interesting there, the one I picked for the Big Bang Theory is Sheldon dressed as Spock transporting. So you've got sort of a more accurate pop from Star Trek than you could get from the Star Trek pops, because they have done Star Trek pops, and you've got a Mr. Spock from the Mirror Universe there, which I thought was cool because it's a bit different. Skeletor and He-Man pops are incredibly popular as well. A lot of people collect them, and some of those variants go for quite a pretty penny. I did think the Walking Dead zombie is pretty awesome because it goes back to what we were saying before with the horror pops. What could be more horrific than a zombie with a screwdriver through its eye? Yet they've changed it into a cute pop vinyl. So it's kind of one of those things where you've got to laugh at the irony of how cool that actually is.
So this is clearly, I got you as a person completely asked about. I was waiting for you to, because you're almost about to say, it was sounded like, the Walking Dead character that I find, and I thought he's going to say disturbing or upsetting or inappropriate, but then he said, I love it because it's got a screwdriver stuck in its head. I was thinking, friggin' hell, Aaron, what's wrong with you, son?
I don't know if you've, Jeff, I don't know if Jethro's here today, but he collects, the limited edition box sets. They actually released one of the season box sets. It's the zombie with the screwdriver in its head, a replica of that, and you open the head up and all the discs are inside. But it's interesting what people find cool and collectible, isn't it?
What's you could learn from all this is that you sort of forget in your favorite shows and movies and whatever else, the amount of you might have a certain character, the amount of variance that character has. So like we use Buffy as an example, right? So they've picked this Buffy here. Now you could or how many different costume changes does Buffy have? I assume, is this the movie version? This is the TV version? Then the TV version, for example, right? You could have like 50 different variations of just of her alone, and then you got Xander, Willow, and it just goes on, Spike, and all the rest of it. So if they wanted to just like go completely spazzo and just like merchandise a lot of them, they could. And people who collect Buffy would have no alternative but to buy the lot. So you don't realize just how much of a well you can play with until you realize, oh hell, if they've done this variant, they can do all these other variants. So yeah,
it's absolutely true. And that Buffy is sort of she's been in a skirmish, so she's got like a bloody eye and things like that. But if you take the box away and you put that up and said, what character is this? You have hard trouble knowing who it actually is.
Yeah, you think they'd put the Sunnydale High School thing on or something like that. It's like when they did the Angel Smile Time puppets, instead of produce like 1-to-1 scale, instead of just doing one, they did 3. And it was like, anything to sort of market and all the rest of it. But very, very cool.
Oh, and of course, I whacked this in. I picked these myself as the most popular Doctor Who's, and it's skewed towards the old series stuff. But Doctor Who was kind of popular with the pops, and they've done a few of the Doctors, not all of them. Daleks and Cybermen and the Weeping Angels and the Adipose and some of the old companions, and a little canine there and a TARDIS. So even Doctor Who got the pop treatment, and and some of the Doctor Who ones go for hundreds of dollars as well, which just surprises me. But there you go.
First off, the canine, I got to say, it looks quite cute. I got to say that's actually a very good thing. Me, like earlier on, Claire made mention about the Empire State Building, and I said ESB, the Empire Strikes Back, because me and my Star Wars brain won't switch off. I saw this and I looked over here and I thought, why is there a Porg, in Doctor Who? First thing I thought of. So what is that? An adipose. Yeah, righto.
Yeah.
So, can't switch it off.
Porgs and adipose both taste delicious to Wookiees.
I bet they do, eh? So I assume which came first? The adipose came first, I'm assuming?
It did, yeah.
Yeah, I figured as much. So there you go. Why is the Cyberman smiling? Because he's happy to be produced as a pop vinyl. You never know. So even the Cybermen, they're like there's some different variations of the Cybermen, so they could easily produce a whole range of those if they wanted to.
If you were a Doctor Who fan, you would know they've never really done good toys of Cybermen. The first one that came out in the 70s, they gave him a nose for no reason at all. And then the 80s version was anorexic for some reason. And now the pop vinyls, you've got smiling ones. So if you're a Cyberman fan, it's a bit of a bummer that they can never get it right.
Yeah, exactly right. Regarding the porgs, yes, tastes good, but a chewy, yes, boom, chish, absolutely love it. So there you go. But yeah, if you're like your Docky Who, yeah, imagine if they went completely to town on that. Oh my God, poor old Aaron will be saying, "Oh my God, I have to buy a new house just for one room for 6 million bloody Doctor Who collectibles." So insane.
And pop has even gone over and done music, which is interesting because it really does branch all the different collector sort of genres. And a lot of toys like Mego and all these other brands, they don't really go into music that much. Occasionally you'll get the Kiss figures and things like that, but pop have really embraced it. And here are some of the better ones. And again, you've got them in bands, most of them, rather than single figures. So you've got Kiss, which, Kiss, like merchandise, they do everything, so you're not surprised that they've done pops of them. But then you've got Metallica that don't see so many toys, and my favorite there are of course Duran Duran, which have never had toys before at all, but there you go, they were popular enough that pop could make Duran Duran pops. You've got some of the other big hitters down the bottom, Prince and Freddie Mercury and Tupac and Angus from AC/DC, which again you would never think would toys would ever come out, but there you go, they have enough popularity that you see pop vinyls of music bands and music icons that you'd never think could get a release any other way.
3 things. So Marcus said, good old, you've got them all. Oh, yeah, sorry, I thought you said get them all. So, yep, that's good for you. With the Kiss one, clearly they said, no, we don't need to do the Eric Carr, the Fox. So they said, no, give him the ass. We'll just stick with the original 4. So that's the end of that. They're only merchandising people who have clearly like a bit of a persona and a bit of flair. What's what I'm looking for? A bit of an image thing going on. So yeah. I can't imagine there'd be a figure of, say, Michael Bublé. That'd be pretty straightforward and ordinary, wouldn't it, eh? Or even Adele. She'd be pretty straightforward, but they do Lady Gaga and A Heartbeat and Elton John and all the rest of it. So, yeah, so being a bit extravagant, that's probably the word I'm looking for, will get you a pop. So, yeah. Is that right?
I think it is, and I think it's probably, I think they go for as many licenses they can get, and, you know, if something proves popular for them, they go, okay, we're going to do everything around that as well. But you are right. I think with the likeness rights, they have to pay more, but when you're doing pops, you don't. So if you have an iconic look to you and they can use the clothes and what you wear as part of the appearance, then instantly you're going to look more appealing to the fans. What we were saying earlier about pops looking like each other, there was a Carol Danvers from Captain Marvel on a motorbike, and you took the box away and it could have been a Sons of Anarchy one. It really is one of those things where the more iconic you look and the more unique pieces of clothing or instruments that you've got, the more likely the pop that's released is going to be recognizable.
Joe said run DMC. I always read that as run Dairy Milk Chocolate, but that's just me being a proper dude. Yes, that is Prince, the purple one himself down here. That's true. Now, there was a question, and hang on. Question about whether they did Eddie from Iron Maiden. Surely they did. That's the answer is yes to that. Is that right?
I didn't see that one. I don't think they did, and that might be because Eddie, you have to get a special license, and I think if they did a pop version, he would look too much like him to, you know, get away with not getting the likeness rights, because he's an artistic character. Probably the original artist owns the rights that might cost more. I don't know. There have been Eddie figures. I've had like the NECA Eddie figures before. They are very hard to get and they are very popular.
Now, this is an interesting sort of comment because I sort of read this when you were talking and I was going to respond, and then the next comment came up. So Thomas has said about the fact that Charlie Watts passed away today, right? And he said, does that increase the value, right? And the very next comment is from Dave, who said the pop just went up in value. Now, the history of life would be that, yes, it would, because it's a current topic as of right now. 1 week from today, it won't. The price will drop again, right? But as of right now, if there was a Charlie Watts figure for from the Rolling Stones, people would be search on eBay because it's a current thing. But like all current things, they eventually they move on, and then suddenly, like a week from today, people say, "Oh, Charlie died a week ago." We've sort of moved on to the next celebrity, effectively. So in the extreme short term, yes, the value would go up, but then it would just come straight back down again. That's my opinion, anyway.
The best example of that I think happened was when Carrie Fisher passed away. And it sounds a bit morbid, but probably for the week after she passed away, every second call we were getting in the shop was, do you have Princess Leia merchandise? Do you have this? Do you have that? And we pretty much sold out. We had customers going, aren't you putting the price up? Which we don't, because the prices are based on what we pay for things, and we don't put the price up because someone passed away. But all the stuff on eBay went up and all the stuff disappeared from the shop. And you know what? About 6 months later, it all settled back down to what it had originally been going for. So at the moment, you'd be selling your Charlie Watts stuff, and then you'd be buying it back in 6 months and keeping the profit you made on the side.
Yeah, and it's a very sad state of affairs, but that's just the nature of how the world turns. It's a similar thing if you've got an autographed photograph from a celebrity and they pass away, the value just goes straight up immediately. But that's so, Thomas, that's sort of my opinion and my view. It sounds like Aaron shares that view. So yeah, you are right. eBay, we flooded with Charlie Watts merchandise today, and then next week there won't be. So there you go. All the price will drop. Christy asked who the girls were. I assume they meant the girls over here. And Dave said it was sorry. Start again. Christy asked who the girls were. They're Spice Girls over here.
No, they're not.
So, aren't they? No.
No, right. It's TLC.
Oh, okay. All right, cool. I wasn't sure. I was just because that was one of those things. I was surprised that TLC would be popular enough to get pop vinyls of them, but they did. I don't know if they have done Spice Girls pops, because Spice Girls were notorious as being created to drive merchandise. So I would say the rights to get them would be more, just because of the way the company was set up to promote and exploit them. So I don't think there have been Spice Girl pops. I didn't see them when I was looking at the most popular music pops, that's for sure. Very, very cool. Thomas, yes, that is the business. Well, the thing is, Thomas, that on one hand, in the world as we know it, you've got creation of products, like in this case, the pop vinyls, for people who love their movies and TV shows and all the rest of it. But on the other hand is the money, right? Everything is done for money. First things first, what profit can we make from it, rather than saying we're doing it because we love it. It is the business, unfortunately. But hey, if you accept reality as it is and you go, you know what, I know I'm getting screwed on this. Like when they produce a collectible, then they produce a variant of the same collectible just to, take it, just to give it to you. In the end, you go, you know what, I acknowledge it, I accept it, but I'll still buy it anyway because that's just what I do. So
the worst, we've talked about hot toys where you shell out for a hot toy and they're not cheap, and then every version of that figure they bring out is better than the one before. Not always, but probably 80% of the time. So you have to shell out for the better version. So you end up paying quite a lot of money. But you know what? You do it because you love the figure and you know you're going to do it. So.
It used to be a big issue with DVDs. Just very, very quickly, they would produce a DVD of a movie with all these extra features. Then, like 6 months later, they produce the same DVD with the same movie but with more extra features. So,
Lucasfilm wouldn't hold on to the deleted scene for Star Wars for years and years and years just to make fans buy it over and over again, would they?
Oh, yeah, exactly right. And what did people do? They just bought them again. Exactly right. Anyway, we move on.
Okay, like who knows the Pokey Rap? They've done Pokemon pops and they're really popular. So you've got Psyduck and you've got Mr. Mime and Squirtle and Vulpix and a whole lot of the popular characters. You've got Mewtwo and a whole lot of those. If you're into pops, these are interestingly, one of the most popular. And I guess because people who collect Pokemon collect the cards, they, I guess, play the game, they collect some of the figures, and it took a long time for Pop to actually negotiate the rights for them to do Pokemon, because I guess they've sold the rights to different regions. So some of the Australian Pokemon pops are region exclusive, and some of the ones that are overseas you can't get in Australia, and that creates a market online where people buy them locally and then resell them overseas. Because you can get different ones in different regions. And that's all because of the rights for making Pokemon toys are tied up with different companies and different distributors in different places in the world. So when I've highlighted the Pokemon pops because apparently it was a bit of a coup when they got the rights to make them.
Yeah, I'm not surprised by that at all. So, yes.
And here we go. There are so many different movies. Rather than doing movie genres, I just did a couple of slides of some of the better figures that turn up. Does anyone know who the Santa on the wheelie chair in the top left-hand corner? Have a think about it while I go through some of the other ones.
Yeah, that's straight away.
Harry...
Yeah, I bet you already had. It's from Die Hard, you know. Now I have a machine gun. Ho, ho, ho.
Yeah, I was asking the people watching Dags. Good on you.
And I didn't even look at them, and I'm entitled to answer the question. I didn't even look at the damn picture before you mentioned it. So, but other people would have got it. So there you go. Because I trust they're all fans. Yeah, very good.
Harry Potter, Carrie, which is an interesting one there, where they've just got the regular. That could be the Michelle Gellar pop, and they've just poured blood on the head. You've got the ring race from Lord of the Rings, and you've got Don Corleone from The Godfather, Travis Bickle from Taxi Driver, Katharine Hepburn. You've got Sigourney Weaver for Aliens. You've got, of course, black and white Alfred Hitchcock. You've got Jack Burton and the twins from The Shining. So that's how diverse some of the movie pops that they've released have been.
Actually, you could also say the twins from Ready Player One, because they appeared in that. And if you're wondering why they appeared in that, is because they were going to do Blade Runner, but they couldn't get the rights because Blade Runner 2049 was being made at the time. But yes, that is very, very cool. And you can see from a manufacturing point of view, they just had to manufacture one girl and then just like duplicate her and stick her in the box.
And if you look at the twins from The Shining, they're basically selling you the same figure twice. Yeah, they could have done the hair clip different or something like that.
Yeah, I know. It's just rubbish, isn't it, eh? But no, all too easy. So, yes, very, very cool. And, of course, if you just try to sell one twin by itself, then nobody would buy them and say, no, they can.
You know what? So. You'll be collecting them forever and ever and ever, Danny. We have Indigo Montoya from The Princess Bride, Quint from Jaws, Black Phillip from The Witch, and probably my favourite pop out of these movie ones is the Black Knight from Monty Python and the Holy Grail, where you've got the actual removable arms with bloody stumps. And it's another one of those funny, ironic pops where you've got this cute character which is like horribly maimed and bleeding. It's just a flesh wound.
Yeah, love it.
And even...
Don't.
You've got Rose from the Titanic, but the other one on the other side there, you've even got the character from Mad Max that was playing the guitar in Fury Road on the front of the trucks. And I tell you what, if Pop are making Mad Max figures, they're doing pretty well, because there have been many companies that have tried to do Mad Max, and the rights for that are apparently a licensing hell. So Pop are doing pretty well with getting some of the licenses they managed to cut through the red tape.
If they're going to do a Rose from Titanic, they have to then build a ship that she can stand on the front and do the. I'm going to do it, Leo. Was it Jack and do it? I'm the king of the world. So yeah, exactly right. Love it. Very, very cool. Hang on, wrong button.
And the ultimate movie, which again I thought you'd never get Pop vinyls of. You've got the entire Breakfast Club there, including the teacher that had them in detention. So when Pops are getting licenses like the Breakfast Club and proving that the nostalgia for one movie that was released 40 years ago still has the hold on people to be successful enough to release a Pop line and for it to do well, you really are selling nostalgia. I mean, I don't think there was any other Breakfast Club merchandise really around at the time, and then Pop goes and releases it and everyone goes nuts and wants all the Breakfast Club characters.
See, I agree with you. If you just look at the characters without the boxes, that could be anybody. So yeah, yes. But however you said that, Claire wants it. So yeah, very, very cool. There was a question here regarding Princess Bride. Did they do one of Andre the Giant?
If they did, it would have been really cool if they'd done, like they do larger scale pops, and he would have been pretty good. I don't recall seeing Andre the Giant, but they might have. Like I said, I looked at hundreds of pops over the last week, so it all blurs into one.
Yeah, they tend to do that, don't they? Eh? Very, very cool.
And we're running late, but we're moving on to our last section, which is Scrooge McDuck's Guide to Funko Expensive Plastic. Because there are some expensive pops, and we all like to hear those outrageous prices that some of them go for. So if you thought some of the ones we looked at on eBay earlier were crazy, wait until you see the prices for some of these.
I want to just know how many millennials are going to look at the bottom of that screen and go, what's all that coloured stuff? Because they're not used to seeing cash. It's all electronic these days. Anyway, move on.
No problem. So here we go. Like, this is the top 10. Now, just to let everyone know, there are lots of price guides that do the top 10 most expensive pops, and all of them are slightly different. I think this one is all pops that could at least be bought at a Comic-Con or you could get at the shops. There are some prototypes and club pops that came out that go for more, but these are ones that if you really tried, you could have picked up at the time if you were lucky. So the first one there is Metallic Mickey, and that kind of made me think they've never done a metal Mickey pop. That'd be a good pop if they ever were looking for something they haven't done before. He came out at Comic-Con. He was limited to 480 pieces. He retailed for $10 when he came out. They're now going for $1,130 on average. The next one we're looking at is Metallic Superman. Now, we'll notice a trend here. A lot of the metallic ones and the glow-in-the-dark ones, sort of the chase ones, go for a bit more. Metallic Superman was one that was in Target in 2010. Again, the recommended retail price was $10. You could go into your local Target store, probably in America, and go through and find this variant for $10. And they're now going on average for about $3,700. The third one is Hopper from Stranger Things. Now, this is a more recent one because a lot of those other ones are going back a decade, but this one was only 2018 when Stranger Things came out. Now, he was only limited to 40 pieces at Comic-Con, so he was one of those that was always going to be hard to get. Again, they come out at $10. This one's going for $4,100 now.
So how many of these are just existing molds, just with the different color schemes? So when I looked at Hopper, the first thing, because I couldn't look at it properly, I thought it looks like the dude out of the Monopoly, but I know it's not. But it kind of reminded me of that. So yeah, exactly right.
Anyone who knows, anyone who knows Josh Gad, I think it looks like Josh Gad from the but yeah, it could be anyone.
If that's the case, if it's just got an existing figure and they just repainted it, they're making a shitload of money out of doing nothing. So, but whatever.
Yeah. One of the ones that consistently goes for a bit of money is Freddy Funko. So Freddy Funko is the Funko mascot, and what they do with Freddy Funko, when they have different conventions and they have different shop days, they'll produce a unique Freddy Funko who is in a different costume. So this one is in Dracula with a crown, and he's metallic as well. So he's got all the different things going for him. He was a Comic-Con exclusive in 2011, and he's now going on average for about $5,000. You've got Boo Berry. Now, this is really interesting because there was a series of pops called Ad Icons, and they're all mascots for adverts and cereal and stuff like that. And there is a subsection of collectors that just do collect cereal toys and things like that. And these were popular. I remember when these came out, they did a Sam Toucan and everyone was after it, and a couple of other ones. This was a Chase Boo Berry figure. He goes for $5,500, and that's a lot of money for an obscure figure. And then Dumbo, again, is another interesting one that goes for a lot. He was a Comic-Con exclusive from 2013. There are only 48 of them made. Now, that has got to drive Disney fans mad. If Dumbo was your favorite character and you want to collect all the Dumbo stuff and they only make 48 of them, you can guarantee all the people that got them at Comic-Con put them on eBay the next day, because that is a massive markup. They wouldn't have gone for that much straight away, but $6,350. No wonder Scrooge McDuck is rolling around in the cash.
Yeah, if you say if there's an elephant in the room, it's the cost of this freaking thing. That's just bullshit, isn't it? There's like, if you're doing the mathematics, it's nearly like $15,000 just for those three items there, or $16,000 just for those three items there. It's just insane. But it keeps going. Is that right?
Yeah. Well, this is interesting because the holographic Darth Maul that we looked at earlier was on this list as $7,000, but this list that I saw was probably from earlier in the year, and even since then, like I said, I saw one for $9,000 on eBay that had sold, and the $14,000 one that had sold as well. So even though these prices are outrageous, there's even more outrageous prices. So we've had a look at the holographic Darth Maul. There was 430 of him, and on the guide I was looking at, they were saying he goes for about $7,000, and that will even get Watto scratching his head, I think. And then underneath that we have Stan Lee, and this was from 2017. It was the first Stan Lee they did, and it was a metallic red variant, and there were only 12 of them made. Now, it didn't say this on the listing, but if you look at that, it does have Stan Lee's signature on it. So I don't know if they made 12 at Comic-Con and he signed them, or just they only made 12 of that metallic one and someone's got that version signed. One way or the other, his signature at the time would have cost someone about $100, and now that figure is going for $8,000. And the last one on this page, we were talking about the ad ones before. I don't know if people in Australia know Count Chocula so much. He is a chocolate breakfast cereal, I guess, mascot, kind of like Coco the monkey, I guess, for something like Rice Bubbles in America. They did a Freddy Funko version of him that glows in the dark. They did him for Comic-Con in 2011. There were only 12 glow-in-the-dark versions, and if you want to complete your pop collection, he's going to cost you 10 grand.
You do wonder if there's ever a situation where one person sort of almost, in America this would be, someone actually like physically assaults and or injures somebody to steal their pop vinyl. It's just, yeah, when you make such limited numbers, it can't end well in some instances. So I don't know. I don't get it. Anyway, continue on.
I'll pause there for a second because Gavin has said, speaking of chocolates, Willy Wonka. And
oh, here we go. He's going to start showing off stuff now. Here we go. What do we got?
One of the only 4 pops I've got in my room is actually Violet Beauregard, the blue version that I saw once, and I thought, you know what, you never see Willy Wonka toys, so I'm going to grab that version. So there you go. They did do Willy Wonka pops, and there's one to prove it.
There you go. What you need is an Oompa Loompa one, and you'd have it like be 1-to-1 scale size. So
yeah, I did look at getting the others, and I thought I'm not going to go down there. Here on the price guide were the 2 most expensive pops. You had Freddy Funko as Jaime Lannister, and this was a 2013 Comic-Con exclusive, and it was the bloody version. So he's Jaime Lannister, and he's got blood splatter all over his face. Jaime Lannister was, of course, from Game of Thrones. So that's the second most popular or second most expensive pop according to the guide. And according to the guide, the most expensive pop ever released and one of the hardest ones to find was the original version of Clockwork Orange, just called Clockwork Orange. He was the glow-in-the-dark variant, and he was going on the price guide for $13,300. But we've already seen Darth Maul went for more than that. But if you had those pops, if you'd chosen wisely and got all of those when they first came out, that was a good investment.
Do you know the name of the character?
He's a Droog, isn't he?
Yes. Well, he's the leader of the Droogs. What's the name of his character?
I can't remember.
That's all right, Alex Delage.
You're
so
right.
the irony being that the most expensive pop vinyl you can get is a character who kicks the shit out of old people and is into the ultra violence and a bit of Beethoven at the same time. How bizarre is that? Eh? Not Disney, not Mickey Mouse or Donald Duck or Bugs Bunny, like a happy character. It is an ultra violent character. So
maybe he's rare because he didn't sell a lot at the time, possibly. But there you go. So that's our presentation on pop vinyls. We promise we'll never ever go there again.
Hang on, you had something you wanted to show.
I did. This is the end. I'm sure I get all the time asked like, what's the value of this pop vinyl? What are the ones that are worth the most? Funko has actually released their own Funko app where you can track the value of all the different pop vinyls, and you can scan your pop vinyls and put them in, and it will tell you the value of your collection. So the high-end price and the low-end price, I guess that's for mint condition and opened, and it actually charts the current prices from all different marketplaces and updates it all the time. So if you're ever looking for the price of your collection, you can go onto this app and it will tell you what every single Funko product is worth, how much it goes for, all the different variants, and the current market price. So if you collect pops, this is a very handy thing to have on your phone. If you go into a cash converters and someone has got rid of their pop collection and they're all in a case there for $20 each, you can go through and find the ones that are worth some money, and you can pick them up cheap.
And I'll tell you what else is actually quite rare and hard to find: us inside the store. So there you go, the way things are at the moment. So, oh my goodness gracious me, isn't it? It's just insane. And a comment you made when you said you got the Willy Wonka, one of the Willy Wonka characters, is that you could have got others, but you didn't want to go down that path. And it is a dark path. That's the problem. Once you start with one, and it's a joke because someone mentioned earlier, it's the Pringles thing. Once you pop, you can't stop. But to a large degree, that's what happens, and it's very rare. I think you find that people have just one and one only, and once they pick up one, it's a very dangerous sort of path to go down. And some people obviously
Pops are the ultimate gateway collectible because they're so cheap to get if you get one or two, and then if you are a collector and you don't want to get everything, you can get everything from one genre, and then you end up getting 10 of them. And there might be two variants, and you've ended up buying 10 of them for $20 each, and then the two variants are a couple of $100. So before you know it, you're spending more and more on them. But that's the genius of Funko.
Yeah, well, exactly right, and excellent marketing, as we said earlier. And Mark got most of his as gifts, and yeah, you're right, Claire. It is hard to stop, and that's just. I mean, obviously, it's not by accident that these things are as popular as they are. So there you go. So it was a lot of popping tonight, but we got there in the end, which is kind of groovy. So
thanks for staying with us, everyone. We've gone over time tonight, so thanks for hanging out.
Yeah, no dramas at all. But we will be back again next week, and yes, hopefully we will have a few smiles on our faces if things start looking a bit better as far as the world is concerned. So there you go. Any final words you want to add in before we sign ourselves off, Mr. Aaron?
No, just a reminder for everyone that Sci-Fi Zone's back on Monday with Dags and Claire. So you've got another night to hang out with those guys and chat about nerdy stuff, and I'll be there commenting along and trying to crack Dags up.
Oh, geez, there you go. It's just funny you're doing a promo for the thing. I was like, what's he promoting? It's like, oh yeah, that's show that show on Monday night. Exactly right. Very, very cool. In the interim, then make sure you keep all your pop vinyls mint in box,
or pop them out of the box.
So you can't pop them out of a card, can you? They have to come out of a box. It just doesn't sound the same way, does it? So there you go. Anyway, no worries. I'm off to the Paralympics. See you later, guys. Bye-bye.
See you guys.